Hi, my name is Rick Howard. You might recognise me from such gaming rules videos as Keyforger Tournament and Keyforger Playthrough. I'm here today to show you Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. It's a game by Fantasy Flight Games and designed by Nikki Valens, who also done Legacy of Dragonholt, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror. So she's got a lot of history in relation to story-related games, which I think in her version of Arkham Horror 3rd Edition really comes through. Now, I haven't played Arkham Horror 1st Edition. I haven't played Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, so obviously I'm the perfect person to do this, but I have played Arkham Horror the Living Card Game a lot. Now, a lot of the different reviews I've read in relation to Arkham Horror 3rd Edition state that they take a lot of influence from the card game, and I can see that in multiple places. There's what is known as the Mythos Cup, which, if you played Arkham Horror the Living Card Game, there's a Mythos bag. Now, I don't know if they're just using cup as an American terminology, but the idea is you put it in something opaque and draw tokens out which change the storyline as you go through. Now, it didn't come with a bag, which is a bit unfortunate. It didn't come with anything to put it in, so I've just got to give them these tokens. When I used it, I put it in a bowl, closed my eyes, ruffled my hand around and chose one which I wanted. For example, the game only came with 6 dice. Now this has a lot of dice resolution for both combat and skill tests. Now I found that a lot of the time, for example, my character had 9 attack towards the end of the game. Now you roll the dice per whatever your skill is, and only having 6 dice, I mean I had to re-roll some. So having to use my own dice, I got myself some nice metal heavy dice to use, but it should really come with a decent amount. I mean, re-rolling stuff, you have to try and remember what you've used before, which isn't ideal. Now, every other kind of component that can come with, which is a lot, you obviously got your health and your sanity tokens, you have your clues and your mythos tokens, your doom tokens, money in this game, which isn't in the Arkham Horror card game. You have these little remnants, so for example, if you rip off the tentacle of a beastie, you get to keep one of them and you can use that for certain activities. You get +1 on your skills, which what is known as focuses. Now, another part of the card game which they brought into this version is the monster deck. Now this is a deck of monsters specific for this scenario. And when you draw one from the bottom of the deck. Thus you don't know what's coming next. And that arrives on its spawn location. That could be near the person with the smallest will or a certain location. And then it moves around and it follows you around and attacks you as they do in the card game. Now I believe that wasn't in any of the other versions. They would generate and that's where they'd be. Now there's a lot of random card play in this game. You have the scenario deck, which will have certain numbers which draw out, which tells you the story of what you're playing. As you go through, you'll go to certain locations, and then you'll draw encounters from the encounter deck. Now the good thing is about these encounter decks is that it'll show you where the certain place is. So for example, my character is now in the police station, I'll read the police station text on the encounter phase. Now, that could be completely different if I was in Hibbs Roadhouse, and there's obviously a deck of all these, so every single time you play, you're not going to go to every single location, to every single section, every single time. The good thing about this game, it has a branching storyline. So depending on if you do this first and get all the clues and succeed, or bad things happen, you'll go down different paths. Now the great thing about that is the replayability. If you did really well this time, you not do so well next time, the story will change. Now if you do the same every single time, then it will be the same every single time, which can be disappointing, I guess, if you wanted to know what was going to happen if you failed, but then you wouldn't really want to try and fail. Maybe you do to see the storyline. Throughout a game, there's only a certain amount of actions you can do. You can do 2 actions, which is move, gather resources, focus, ward, attack, evade, research, or trade, or actions on certain cards. Now 2 actions doesn't sound like very many. Now this is how it scales, because with multiple players, obviously you've only got 2 actions to do, but still during the Mythos phase, everyone draws 2 tokens out of the token bag. Now if you're with 1 player, you only draw 2, and then you get to do your 2 actions again. If there's 2 players, you do 2 actions, you do 2 actions, 4 tokens come out. So if there's 6 players, everyone obviously gets to get 2 actions, but you'll get through the Mythos Cup a lot quicker. Now Mythos Cup only refills once all the tokens are taken out. And when they're all taken out, it always goes back in again and you'll recycle through the bad things again. And the faster you get through them, the more doom generates, everything goes wrong, monsters appear, everybody dies, sad face. But obviously we're here to try and stop that, and to do that you do the clues. Right, when I played this, it was very exciting. It was such an exciting game. We had a number of scenarios happen that really ripped our hair out with, oh my God, I can't believe that. Now, that happens quite a lot in a game with dice rolling, I guess, because you'll be like, oh, I must not roll a 1. So what do? You roll 6 ones in a row, which can be frustrating to some people and can be the level of excitement for others. For example, we had what was known as a dark pact. Now, there's a certain token in the bag which you draw, looks like this one, and there's only one of them in your cup. And when you do, it adds bad things to the table. We got a dark pact. We made a deal with the devil, and it says, when you draw this, roll the dice. And then if you roll a 1, flip it over. And there's a number in there with all different scenarios that happened on the back of them, all bad, horrible things. So guess what happened? We rolled a dice and we rolled a 1 straight away. First time we rolled the dice. So we're like, no, I can't believe it. We're never getting one of them again. But then, something happened. We're like, oh, we can get a real good benefit if we take a deal with the devil. We'll do it. We weren't going to roll a 1 again, are we? Yes, of course we did. So we rolled a 1 again, and yeah, everything went wrong completely, which is all great fun. And we cut it fine. We succeeded in saving Arkham, which for a story-based game is great. You're like, yes, we did it. We got that. We killed all those monsters. We survived. We stopped to the end of the world, all in an evening. Which for most board games, can that really tell you that you did that? Some do, some don't. One of the great things I found about Arkham Horror 3rd Edition is that the gameplay itself will change depending on the scenario. Now, the game comes with 4 scenarios, and the ones we played, they played completely differently. So one of them played where we had to get a lot of clues and we had to go around and investigate lots of different places. The next one had a load of monsters spawn and we had to go and fight them, a lot of combat and a lot of dice rolling, which played completely differently, and the storyline played differently, the gameplay changed. And depending on how well we do, different branches will change how different things work. So the replayability is there. I mean, with a story-based narrative game, it's hard to, once I've read the story, I know what's going to happen. And therefore your second play might not be quite as good as your first play, and then your third play will not be quite as good as the second or the first, because you know what's going to happen. But with the whole branching storyline, it allows you to try different routes, imagine different scenarios and how it happened, and the random scenarios. I've read that paragraph of text before, so yeah, I know I saw a frog under that rock and got the extra $1 money. But it's a game more than, for example, a game like Time Stories, where you know the story, that's it. If you play it again, there's not much else to go. And at least then there's more of a game here in the respect that you'll want to play it again. You'll want to do that. We'll survive. Will we not? Different players can do different things. There's a whole range of different character cards that you can get. So all of everyone's favourite Arkham Horror characters are all in here. Agnes, which is my favourite one in the Arkham Horror card game, which is the one I've chosen to show here. And each of them have a choice of starting equipment. So you might say, my character's got a car, so therefore he can drive around and run people over. Now you can either do that, or therefore move around a lot faster, or don't have that, but then have an extra money every turn, because he's a part of a gang. So yeah, that'll completely change on how the game is played, depending on how your character's chosen. And especially in a co-op scenario, because if you're playing with multiple people, you might want to try and share skill sets about what's got, I can do a lot of combat, I can do a lot of clue investigations. So together we make a good team. Playing solo, you might find yourself in a bit of a sticky situation where you've got a very combat-oriented character and you have to develop 6 clues to resolve the scenario, but you can't get any way of getting clues, so that won't work very well, I can imagine. Now, the equipment can sort of help that, but then again, if you don't have much money, so I can imagine this game being a lot harder in a single player format. Now, following Fantasy Flight Games' standard format, it comes with 2 rule books. One being the learn to play, the other one being the rules reference. Now, it's very well written out. There's a quick reference on the back of the rules reference, which we found we used a lot for the different tokens, what they mean when they come out, what they do. There's a Q&A in the back as well, which is quite cool. Everything's relatively simple enough. There's side panels here which show you what the cards mean, what the different icons each card means. I mean, going through the game, it's not that complex. I mean, there's a lot of bits to it and everything, but after you've played your first learning game, you should be no worries playing it again without really going through the Learn to Play book again. But there's the quick reference for the rules, and obviously all the keywords, and they all got that Fantasy Flight Games numerical referencing tagline. But everything's got a keyword, you look it up, you find out what's going on, and it's really handy for mid-game. Oh, what does elusive mean on a monster? You can just quickly go, oh, right, okay, cool. They're very, very handy in that way. I don't find there's much in there which could be improved upon. To summarise my time with Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, I loved it. It's a great game. It's really good fun to play. Me and my... I say he's my brother's brother-in-law, but he's also a very good friend of mine. We played it together a number of times. We both really enjoyed it. We'll be certainly playing it again. We've got a couple more scenarios left to do that we haven't tried yet. It's going to be different each time we play. I mean, the negatives that we would have said is that some of the components is like not enough dice, doesn't come with enough baggies to store the components. But it's well made. I'd recommend it. It's a great fun evening. It does take up an evening. I mean, the first time we played was 4 hours. Second time we played was only just over 2 hours, so we obviously got a lot better at it the second time. But yeah, recommend it to all of your cultist friends. Anyone who's interested in tentacles or just horror in general, yeah, buy it today. What I'm hoping is that from playing Arkham Horror 3rd Edition that I don't go insane and turn to a cultist. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but...
Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.